Fanatically correct. Brought to you by us, fans like you.
In a dark corner of the world, three men will work together to bring you a podcast like no other. This is Fanatically Correct, where the fans, the geeks, and the nerds are always correct. With your host, MSK, Yo Peace, and Omega.
All right, guys, that's it. Sunrise City Comic Con 2022 is this Saturday, August 13th. I cannot believe that I'm going to release this episode from last year, and we still don't have a Flash movie. Can you believe that? We're going to talk DCEU in this episode. This is a flashback episode, by the way. And the Flash movie still hasn't been released. Not much has happened in DCEU anyways. We got Peacemaker, and that's it. That's it. I think that's the only thing that's been released since last year. So we're not missing out on much. But here's a flashback episode. I'll give you more details about the tickets at the end. I don't know. We'll see.
We're going to talk all things DC Cinematic Universe. Obviously, we just had the Suicide Squad. Titans just dropped their new season. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. This is the Fanatically Correct podcast. I'm your host, Omega.
Yo, peace.
MSK.
MSK, he said. See, that's a delay. So that voice you hear, go ahead, talk again.
What's up?
Wow, that's kind of
no.
a delay.
I think
he's making a fake delay. So that's the voice of God, G-O-D, our guy on digital.
I'm G-O-D today.
He's our guy on digital. So when you hear that overhead talk, you're not losing your mind. You're not going crazy. That's just... And actually, we've never done a DC panel. Usually we don't have the fondest things to say about the DC
we talk
projects outside of the animation.
Yeah,
Animation's
we
always
talk a lot
on.
about DC on our podcast,
but right as of right now, yeah,
and it's always negative. So we're gonna try to be positive today.
Always.
Yeah, it's a lot of the mainstream stuff we tend to not like, and the non-mainstream stuff like Doom Patrol. All three of us love. My co-hosts have not gotten on Titans yet. I love Titans, and so far I saw the first episode of the most recent season 3, and that's looking good. The Suicide Squad, that we'll see if other people have different opinions.
Did you guys see it?
They hit out of the park.
Well, it's, I would have to check it out first.
Right. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, that's a bit of a hard R. How young of who you're worrying about seeing it are they? 15?
I mean,
yeah, man, it's a parental decision.
Yeah, it is a parental decision.
It's a parental decision. I
get it.
Yeah. I mean, I would watch it if I was 50. My parents would let me.
Oh, I saw things way worse when I was younger. I'm not a model.
I don't want to do that to your parent, to your dad right now. I don't want to be that guy. But
then again, I'm G-O-D, so.
I'm not condoning to repeat the way I was.
I'm not
parented.
saying we had bad parents, but there were
different generation. Different generation.
Okay.
It was a whole lot
watch
of they'll be fine.
Yeah. Which we didn't turn out fine.
He has seen a couple of our ladies drink, but I kind of need to see it first.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's important.
It's not so much the comedy things. There's some content that's a little, but it's in a comedic nature. So it's not the same, It's not like you're watching like
Actually, the comedy aspect of it isn't bad. It's the actions they're doing.
Yeah, and there's some nudity that is shown as well.
That's
nothing too major though.
Not crazy, but it's there.
No,
it's there.
Not crazy. No.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is going to be rough because we'll try not to spoil it for you.
The thing is,
as we talk about
No, but we can talk. I mean, DC mainly is very dark and more adult-driven, I want to say.
I guess.
No?
Which is strange. Because, you don't usually think of Superman as dark character.
Right. But then you have the other characters.
Yeah. Well, it's that
villains and
Superman's in the shared universe of Batman, and Batman the whole concept is dark.
It's the positive and the negative, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, not the most current ones.
Man, I'm so mad about that. I don't even want to talk about that right now.
Did something
about what? About which one?
about how little interaction they had in between the movies, between Batman and Superman.
Yeah, the Snyderverse / Joshverse.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they had like two scenes, maybe 3 scenes.
Somehow they had supposed to had a lot of chemistry
in the span of 2 movies.
Yeah, and all the friendship that they display in the comic books and the animated series and all the other series. So I'm just gonna go through the list a little bit.
Wait, before we start getting to the list, have you, sir, seen
the Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squads?
Not the most recent one. Wow.
See, so no spoilers. We won't do that.
Curious, he hasn't seen it because you haven't seen it yet. But just curious, is it because you haven't had the time yet, or you want to wait till the theaters, or?
I haven't been to theaters for February 2020.
Oh wow, and you don't register, you don't have HBO Max. In other words, you don't stream HBO Max. Oh, that's why. So you're waiting for it to be like on regular on demand or whatnot to rent. Oh, okay. So so a lot of the stuff, well, specifically Doom Patrol, Titans, and the Suicide Squad, that's on HBO Max.
Very, very adult driven again,
and all very adult driven.
Yes. So those.
Yeah, so far, what they're doing in the 3rd season, I've only watched the first episode. They've dropped 3 episodes. I like where it's going. It's an alternate.
And be careful
version.
With the spoilers.
I'm not spoiling.
It's
an alternate version, and that's
watch it one day.
Really to kick it off. But I'll say it's an alternate version of Batman, and specifically his relationship with Robins, other words, sidekicks, and what
British Batman, right?
And so far, there's an ulterior motive to Batman other than these troubled kids just happen upon him, as opposed to maybe it's more a strategic move for someone that's aging, because it is an older Batman. So there's a different route. And to go into that, last year the CW, I don't know how many of you caught up with that. Are you familiar with the CW, the Arrowverse? I now call it the Flashverse because Arrow, is no longer with us. They did Crisis.
Is that what they call it now, or is that what you're calling it?
The what?
Is that what they're calling it?
I'm calling it. They still call it the Arrowverse, but it kind of doesn't make sense to do that because Arrow is no longer part of the lineup.
It's what he's calling it.
Finished. Exactly. So they call it because it's first, but now that they all base around basically Flash. So kind of, that's what it feels like more. It's more the Flashverse. Even though all of them pretty much started to base around Flash, even while Arrow was still on.
They did, yep.
Yeah, they all started bouncing off Flash way more than they did Arrow.
Yeah, he's the one that connected everyone pretty much.
Well, it's hard because Arrow's a more grounded show that's supposed to be less superhero-y, and the Flash has all the powers and the abilities and the super villains.
They had no choice when they started introducing the powers, the superpowers.
Exactly, metahumans is how they refer to it.
Exactly.
But personally, I think, and I usually don't give a lot of kudos to DC, and also I'm not the biggest fan of the casting of the current cinematic Flash, but I will say that they did a very bold move in deciding and doing it on their network television series by doing Crisis on Infinite Earth and deciding, and this is a spoiler here because it's a big deal with everything going on with DC now and what they're doing with the new Flash movie, which is they all exist in a multiverse now. Every single film and show, whether it's the Michael Keaton Batman, which everybody already knows he's been casted to play Batman in Flash because they're jumping alternate timelines and alternate realities, which is kind of what Marvel's going into now. But not to talk much about Marvel, but they're doing it in a different way, where
they're better way. But
because they're building up to it. Where DC said, you know what, we have all this stuff. We're just gonna say it all exists together, and by doing that, they give a lot of room to change character. I mean, they're basically saying Joker with Joaquin Phoenix that exists in this multiverse. All the different, Tim Burton Batman, Schumacher Batman, they all exist. Exactly. Stargirl, Swamp Thing, the Adam West Batman series. All of it exists in this shared multiverse. So
they're doing the thing that they do in comic books, pretty much. That's how they have different Earths in comic books. But it's all tied into the DC universe. Exactly.
So with that, it gives a lot of room for crazy crossovers, and I won't spoil the specific ones, but they did prove that, within their Crisis that, yes, this, even the cinematic DC universe that currently, the Snyderverse, Joshverse, whichever Justice League you're watching, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, all of it exists together in this multiverse. So they even went home with that and showed evidence of that within their series. So I do give credit to DC in that fact of at least giving us the ability to have a lot of room to really work and in a lot of ways accept a lot of choices they make and changes they make with either characters or storyline or whatnot, because you just look at it as, hey, you know what, that's that universe and we have a multiverse. Yeah. There's going to be differences in these multiverses.
You have to give them credit in the sense that they pulled that rug
from
under you, really, like before Marvel decided to do it, which gave them the I want to say the head, like the better.
The benefit of being first.
You're not going to say the better. You're not going to say the better.
But it's not better. But it's not better.
It's not a build-up.
And it's not that bad of an idea.
Yeah, I want to try. I want to try to start talking good about DC in a second, but it goes back to that DC always tries to force things quick, pull the band-aid. It's really Warner Brothers. We say DC, but it's not DC.
No, let's be specific. It is Warner Brothers.
It's the studios. They give a lot of, and that's the difference with the Suicide Squad, which is you can tell, at least in this one, whatever studio execs from Warner Brothers were in charge, they said, let James Gunn do his thing. They gave him full permission, no spoilers for those who haven't seen it yet, but do not get comfortable with any characters, whether they're in the first one or they're new ones. James Gunn does not care. He had carte blanche permission to kill whoever he wanted and bring in as many characters as he could. You said too much, but no, that's it. No, not everyone dies, but not everyone lives. So it is interesting, but it was so James Gunn. It was so what he can't do with Guardians of the Galaxy because that's Disney owned. That's a Marvel franchise. He has a lot of jokes and vulgarity things in there that go over kids' heads. Where with the Suicide Squad, they said, don't worry about making this for kids. Go with the R rating and just throw it in their face. Yeah. Don't worry about innuendos or over their head. Just outright do it. And he did a great job. And
which is also that's the good part about DC, that they could do something more toward the adult fans of the superhero franchise that Disney can't do.
And they could play with both, because like example, one of the few movies that besides like Man of Steel and the first Wonder Woman, Shazam is actually darn good. And that one is the more, very family friendly, less dark, and it specifically exists directly in that canon universe.
Also a Christmas movie.
And yes, movie. I'm gonna tell you, it actually did feel better watching it in the month of December. Yeah. On HBO during Christmas. It did feel more right. It was a little weird seeing great. Christmas in the summer.
Great casting as well.
Excellent, and really looking forward to the next one. I mean, supposedly there's all kinds of rumors why they changed the casting of the older sister, but she is old enough to be the Shazam version of herself. Anyways,
she's gonna play the same.
Exactly,
same actress is gonna play it.
Exactly. So they actually keeping the same actress now as opposed to her changing casting. Which isn't that Hawkeye's wife in Marvel? The one that they used?
I don't think so.
Or the other one?
No, it's not. First of all, it's not.
I wasn't sure because I watched not too long ago and I didn't check the credits after that. So I mean, most recently the Suicide Squad, DC's winning very well with that. Titans just came out winning very well with that. We had recently. I think Young Justice is about to come back as well.
Young Justice is about to come back.
Doom Patrol is coming back in September, I think.
Doom Patrol is coming back again
this fall. Yeah, the teaser already dropped for that.
Again, now Titans, a 15, 16-year-old, you're fine. Doom Patrol,
no.
Yeah, probably not.
No, no. I'll be straight up. I mean, if
for 15 and 16,
yeah,
Doom Patrol,
The animated
series. There are scenes.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser's character, Mr. Robot.
Yeah, mainly. Yeah, you're right.
Actually, I will tell you, anybody watching Superman and Lois? Yes. I got one nod. Any other nods? Anybody else watching Superman and Lois? Nods. I'm okay, and I think you're gonna get me when I say this. Maybe that's why did you stop watching or you continue to watch it? Like you're okay with it? Like you're enjoying it? I personally, I'm actually enjoying it. And I will throw out, and maybe you could agree with me on this, it's not a CW show. Even though they're airing it on CW, it has a lot of that HBO Max production value to it. You can tell.
That's good.
And outside of that, I'm really enjoying the casting. And they're also tinkering with with some alternate reality stuff. And I personally like the choices that they've made with it. It's a very different storyline. And now what's confusing is because that particular Superman, at least that actor's version of that Superman, did spin off of the Arrowverse. However, it's not very clear how lined up it is with it. There is some Easter eggs and crossover type cameos that show that it should still be directly involved, but some things are kind of out of line with the timing. So it could be maybe a future timeline or something.
Maybe.
I'm not entirely sure because they made some changes in Crisis that
wanted you to have. That they're all part of the same universe, but it could still be its own thing. So that's what DC wants you to.
But
wants you to see it as.
That's a good show. A lot of the CW stuff is safe, at least for like obviously the teenagers and the kids and stuff like that. Usually not the most entertaining stuff. Personally, I'm really feeling outside of Superman and Lois, and it's their first season. Most shows tend to be a little bit more interesting and do well their first season. But the Arrowverse in general is sloping down all of it. From my personal opinion, I'm even Flash. It's like they're really. I don't know if they're just running out of ideas or they're just worried with everything else they got going on in the tank with HBO Max. They're kind of trying to fizzle it out.
It's hard because I think it's been written incorrectly from the beginning. And I don't want to say that because I enjoyed the Flash. As soon as it was introduced, I actually enjoyed that character. I liked the storylines, but then they got campy for me. And way too campy for me. And I think it's been written so bad already that at this point it's just they're losing their drive into keep it. That can be the only thing that's going to keep them alive.
Flash is kind of following that somewhat that pattern.
I mean, I stopped watching that. I think season 3. Are they still using Tom on there? Tom Cavanaugh or as different
the
versions
doctor, right?
That's who?
Yeah,
Tom.
The doctor.
Oh, we reverse Flash? Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
Thong.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, was actually a lot of different characters.
Yes.
Yeah, Wells. Yeah, the different Welleses and all that. I think
Wells.
they just...
Are they still using Wells, though? Like, different ways, or...?
They've been fizzling... I think they fizzled them out finally in this season, as well as some other characters.
Long, I feel like that gimmick went...
way too long than it should have.
I feel that they really peaked hard with Crisis. I really feel that they kind of just should have ended all the shows with Crisis and ended on a high note and just moved on to all the HBO Max stuff and all the cinematic stuff. Like the adult type stuff like HBO Max, again, Harley Quinn, the animated series. I enjoy that a lot. I mean, it's you know, it's
the
different.
thing is the animated series.
They always do better with that.
Always on DC, they are the best.
They are
hands down.
No matter what.
When it comes to
out the gate, I'll tell you that. The more recent animated films that have been out, Deathstroke, Knights and Dragons, excellent. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War was the last one and they actually wrapped up. That kicked off. That was our very first Nerdcessity. We'll do one at the end of the episode on our podcast. We end every episode at the end where we call it Nerdcessity, something that one of the hosts will recommend that you watch to be like in touch with fandom and the nerdverse. And I personally recommended the Nerdcessity of Flashpoint Paradox, an animated movie that hooked me out the gate. It's such a great movie. It's an animated movie that maybe you want to hold out to after they do this Flash movie, because if you watch it and have that in comparison, you're going to see probably where this is going to fail a lot because they did it so right in that animated film. Now they did a whole span of animated films that all tied into that storyline, and they ended it with Justice League Apocalypse War. And I recommend everything in between that. But that was one of the more recent animated films they did too. Excellent. Superman, Man of Tomorrow, which is now the new phase of the animated films. Excellent. The ones that just came out, Batman, Death in the Family. I have not seen, I started and I've not seen all of them, but it's an interactive movie. So you actually get to kind of choose the different endings that you will get from the Red Hood storyline, Jason Todd, and the death of Jason Todd.
That's interesting.
The second Robin.
That's interesting to do.
Then we just had Batman, The Long Halloween.
The Long Halloween.
Which I have not watched yet. Has anyone seen that yet? Part 1 as of right now.
By the way.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep up, but when you watch it, and what's kind of good about it is you don't have to watch it when it first comes out because a lot of them kind of stand alone. But when you watch it, you really don't regret it. I haven't met anyone that's watched one and been like, I really didn't enjoy it. If you like the animated medium
universe,
because I do not a lot of people don't, especially in our age group or older, they don't enjoy animated films. They kind of just prefer live action or live action television. And I understand because that wasn't really.
It's different.
Yeah, when we were kids too, because we had it different. When we're from, us personally, we're from the generation of Batman the Animated Series. And when that happened, then X-Men happened, Spider-Man happened, that version of Spider-Man, that spin-off of Superman, Justice League Unlimited, Young Justice, like Batman Beyond, all these shows that had good animation, but good storyline.
Bruce Timm stuff.
All the Bruce Timm stuff. So darker storyline, but still suitable and fair for young minds and young eyes to watch. But then we started to really enjoy watching good storytelling through animation, where like the generation before was more chapstick comedy, Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera stuff, where the story's all right, but it's loose, it's entertainment. But as you get to a certain age, you like the comedy, but you don't feel the story.
Yeah, you don't want to watch it.
And the arc, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want it.
But so we're very used to watching animation as a way to get good dark storyline that also works in live action.
Yeah. And all those animation works because all of them work because they are based on the comic, right? That's something they don't really do in the movies,
right?
Because the director or executives always put their thing into it, and it kind of ruins it, to tell you the truth. But the animation stays pretty faithful to the comics.
To the comic
These
stories.
are great stories from the comics.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
I was saying that I'm from the generation that remembers. Remember that movie Heavy Metal?
Yes.
That was like the thing that when I was a kid, we'd like watch it 1 in the morning.
Yeah, and that's my point. It would be such a deviation outside of, and what now we have, especially the youth now, has such a culture of watching all the anime films, all the anime shows, all of that transitions over now. Yeah, all of our stuff was like Ninja Scrolls, Akira, where it was like the real random stuff that would be kind of like almost like an occult, a grouping of people. Like, you had to like really be into anime to watch and appreciate this stuff.
And they were really hard to find.
Exactly. And it didn't transfer over easy. We didn't have all the Dragon Ball Z and the Pokemon, that stuff transition yet. And so the other stuff that you would get animated, you either get real chapstick, real kid friendly, real hokey comedy stuff, or you get real crazy hardcore, kids should not be watching at all type stuff.
Like you still watching it.
So you always had that teeter where now, Yes. Yeah. So now there's that balance. They use cartoons, and you have things like South Park, Rick and Morty. We got a Rick Sanchez out there getting a burger. We have like hardcore comedy, even, Family Guy. A lot of that's, innuendo stuff, but very adult comedy cartoons.
Yeah. And Simpsons is still number one.
And there you go. And I don't think they're ever going to cancel that show.
Number one.
Yeah.
Ever. Disney Plus made it so easy. You just watch an episode a day to like probably the rest of your life.
And you still won't finish.
And you do an episode a day, it'll take you about 7 years. I did the math. It'll take you about 7 years.
But that's every day. But that's every day.
He's been our God guy on digital. Not that God. That's the third voice you're hearing. So in case the ones people who just joined.
It's the voice in your head.
It's too late to introduce them. They already been hearing a voice.
So our co-host MSK, apparently he's actually really planned this out and thought about doing this and just doing a Simpsons a day. And he did the math that it's going to take him 7 years to do it. But they keep adding episodes. So, personally, I feel that especially with DC, I've never completely been able to step away from it as an overall, franchise, because they've always done well with the animated. A lot of their video games rock for sure. If you are a comic book reader, they have great storyline in their comic books. And I feel that Joker, Joaquin Phoenix was incredible. Dark Knight, with Heath Ledger, that series is incredible. So it's not like everything DC does is terrible.
But see, the reason that I feel, because I'm not sure what the audience feels, but the reason I feel the Joker worked is because it was its own movie.
Exactly.
It was not part of any part of the universe until obviously they did it on a TV show.
Yeah.
But it was a standalone movie, and that works for DC at this moment.
That's one-shots are kind of their best way to go.
Standalones, yeah.
They should just continue doing it.
Well, that's what I feel the Suicide Squad is. Unfortunately, Joker, I feel a lot of people are trying to push for a sequel, and they might get it. I don't feel like that was a film that really calls for a sequel. I kind of feel just let it be.
No.
I also believe, what's the one, Brightburn? That was James Gunn. Yeah, was James Gunn also?
His brothers, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another one, standalone, this alternate version of basically Superman. And like, what if, he was evil? It
makes sense.
And it made sense. And it was a very different film, and personally, it's kind of it's not really a horror, it's a thriller. But I'm a person that doesn't enjoy a lot of gore in a horror thriller film. But in this movie, it actually works because you do have to be realistic that if Superman puts a human body through a wall, what that would look like. It's not going to be like in the cartoons where the guy is just all in one piece on the other end.
or just
And he gets up. And he gets up.
Heat vision is called heat vision. Getting melted with heat vision is not going to look pretty. You know, I think there's a lot of things in that film that are a little hard to watch, you know, for those who don't like, you know, gore and hard to that aspect, but it wasn't campy. They didn't use it to be campy and chopstick. They used it to make things look real, you know, to give it like, if this existed and this happened to people and this character did this to people, what would that look like? But also a very one-shot type feeling. Again, they're talking and they're trying to schedule and do like this whole universe off of it and sequels. So it's a lot of times when the sequels come around, they start to hurt the things. But
and look, I just want to put it out there again. I feel like the shirt you're wearing right now,
Man of Steel.
I just want to say that was the beginning of something great.
Yep.
And they lost their way.
Yep.
And I have no idea where they're at right now.
And the way was called Christopher Nolan. That's
right.
really what it is. They lost.
And that was a great film. Great film to introduce a world that could have been. I don't want to say bigger than Marvel because I'm not here to compare. There's no comparison.
Something I'm going to repeat. Okay, well, we're not going to get too deep into this, but since we have an audience here, if you go back, Fanatically Correct, we're on everything, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. So you can listen to our previous episodes. We did a Zack Snyder episode of the Snyder Cut. And something I mentioned in that episode that I just feel like is worth mentioning here because we're talking about the Man of Steel and what changed in that. And he brought up Christopher Nolan, our
hero,
our guy on the big speaker overhead, Christopher Nolan, is that with the Zack Snyder stuff, is that when he or his wife are producers, that's when you get the bad Snyder stuff. Whenever he has someone else keeping him in check, you get the good Snyder stuff. Because like Watchmen, Man of Steel, the first Dawn of the Dead, when he has someone that says you are really good telling visual stories and you can make really good visual scenes, not everything needs to be in slow motion, you get a really good product. But then when he's fully in charge, you get a million slow motions, you get a movie over an hour longer than it needs to be, you get hacked up storyline, you get bad things. And if you go through all the credits of all his films, you'll realize the best ones are the ones where he or his wife are not the producers, and it's someone like a Christopher Nolan, a James Gunn, which is Dawn of the Dead. James Gunn was an executive producer and wrote that script. It wasn't Zack Snyder. So you start to realize that he's good on a lot of visual effect things, and that's what happened to us personally. A lot of people were overhyping the Snyder Cut, and then you had this whole thing where they bullied the internet into releasing.
Again, I'm gonna be positive about this. The Snyder Cut was. The second half of the Snyder Cut was actually good.
The whole thing was actually better than what Josh Whedon did.
But that second half part of the movie, after, I don't know, part 4 or whatever, how many parts they had, but that second half of it was actually really good. It made you understand the movie better. It wasn't as dry and cut.
Well, to the argument of that, and this is something we've been talking about in MSK on our social medias and stuff like that. What is it you want released now?
Oh, the Iron Cut for Suicide Squad, the first Suicide Squad.
And I'm going to tell you, I got a little bit at the beginning because you had the Snyder Cut, and then right away everyone's saying the Schumacher cut of Batman and Robin, and everyone starts breaking out all these like, oh, there's a lot of cutting room and I don't think everything needs to, so I kind of got don't do any of it. No, they then shouldn't do that one. But the Iron Cut of Suicide Squad, I'm actually okay with because after seeing what James Gunn did with the Suicide Squad, and I see I think he took some notes from Ayer directly. It really feels like because of the way he worked with Harley Quinn, that character, and even the way that he kind of portrayed Bloodsport in a way I think that they really wanted to do Deadshot, and even Captain Flag. And you see like some of the things they do in the Suicide Squad, where I think
spoilers.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try not to, but I think that Ayer was gonna also do in his version of Suicide Squad, and then they had a music video company finish the film and hack it all up. And here's my only argument. It might not be good. It might not still be like, oh, you know what? That totally made the movie different. It was great, just like I feel Justice League didn't. But it was better. And 9 out of 10 times, when you watch a director's cut of a movie, it tends to be better.
It's true.
Whether it says, well, that went from an all right movie to a great movie, maybe not. But you always say, that was better than the one I saw in theaters. So it just really paints a picture that studios need to get out of directors' ways and producers' ways. Let them complete their vision. And then what happens. In this superhero world, we're going to go see it or not. And we're going to see it 10 times or not. Like, 3.5 minute long trailers. Don't need it. We already know it's an Avengers movie. I don't need to see the whole movie in the trailer. I'm going to go watch it. Just show me a minute of it's going to happen.
You barely need a poster.
Yeah, exactly. And the Suicide Squad, unfortunately, kind of does that. You see a lot of the movie. You saw it in the trailer. Recently, I just saw Free Guy. Same thing. And a great movie with Ryan Reynolds. But unfortunately, there's a lot of scenes that you go, wow, I wish I hadn't seen that already, because they're just really showing everything in the trailers. And it's not necessary, but it's the same thing. They don't need to go, oh, we're worried about how the studio or the audience is going to portray. Just let them do it. Joker did great. The Suicide Squad is great. These one shots, Brightburn is great. Let the directors just do their thing and let's see what happens.
They try to overwrite too much of what the comics are giving you, when Marvel doesn't do that much. I mean, they do. They do, but they stick true to the characters. When DC just tries to overwrite these characters, when you have the blueprint right in front of you in the comics, you don't have to go so chaotic with it. Just write the comic book. You'll be all right. Promise you. Like, we'll be okay. Nobody's going to be mad at this.
Well, here's the thing. The whole issue is that in our next panel right after this, as soon as we're finished, we're just going to go jump in at 5 o'clock into our Marvel panel. We're going to talk MCU. We're going to talk all the wonderful stuff they just did. And, Loki and What If just started this week. And we'll get into that. And a big difference is Marvel is really all about fan service.
That's it.
And you're learning that Disney's learned that because they're doing it with their Star Wars property as well. They're learning fan service, and it works. Give the fans what they want, and they'll like it. And I think that was they kind of gave a stab at the Snyder Cut and let that happen. But outside of Disney, they do. It's such a studio service. It's all about what does the studio want? What are the studio execs things the way they should be? What is their creative vision? And then the only time DC shines is when it's these one shots. So they go, you know what? Do whatever you want. We're not going to build a universe off of that.
But here's
and then it does well.
But then it comes down to Warner Brothers. If we ever get in our lifetime Warner Brothers out of the way and DC with their own studios, God,
like
please let this happen. Not you, God, the other God. But if we ever get this, I feel we'll be in the right track, because then DC can do whatever they want. There's no one else to answer to but themselves. Warner Brothers is always putting the foot and making it bad for everybody else.
Again, they prove it in their animation and they prove it in their video games.
That's it. So that's where we're at. Honestly, at the end of the day, when we look back at DC, it's gonna be Warner Brothers. And if they ever get out of that contract, it will be the best thing for them.
They need a Kevin Feige. That's what they need. They need their own guy.
And there's a lot of rumors that they're trying to do.
And you know what? Give it to James Gunn. Give it to James Gunn.
James Gunn or J.J. Abrams is where a lot of the rumors are at. That they're trying to either do that with James Gunn or J.J. Abrams.
I don't feel JJ will work.
Yeah, either one. I think James Gunn is probably going to make the shift. All he has is the 2 Guardians of the Galaxies left, the Christmas special, which I'm interested to see what that's going to be. A Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And then, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And then I feel that he likes the ability to be dark or gory or vulgar with his material. And this is actually a personal hope, and we'll see. With the Suicide Squad, I'm actually fine of that not being a one shot and just letting him do this more and letting him grab. And since it's a shared universe, and I'm venting my dreams into hopefully it's out in the embers and maybe somehow it becomes reality, which is shared universe, bring in villains from the Arrowverse, from the Snyderverse, from the Jock. Kill them off, or use them as heroes, or have them go at it, one-on-one with other Suicide Squad members, whatever he wants. Just like they gave him in this film, and just do it. Just do it. We got some contracts left that we need to fulfill anyways. Do it. And I think we'll have some good movies. Now, it's just going to be good fun. Exactly what you said. And that's one thing I will tell you about The Suicide Squad. It's fun.
That's what I heard.
It's a fun movie. And that's why it's fun, because he's not playing by any of these set rules that we're used to the DC universe of how's this going to play out in the next movie? He's who cares?
Who cares? Yeah.
we'll figure it out then. What does it matter?
Don't care.
We'll tell more stories. We'll get more villains.
I really don't care what happens in the next movie.
And then I love it because he does what he does with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's polka dot guy. What are you going to do with that? And then you watch, you go, I love what he did with polka dot guy.
Still
he made this work.
Still not my favorite.
Yeah. Weasel.
I mean, you guys,
I'm going to make this work.
You guys haven't seen it, but still not my favorite.
James Gunn just has an ability to do that with characters. He turned Groot into such a love character and Drax into an extremely comedic character.
Honestly, let's be realistic. I don't think anybody thought that was going to be interested at all.
Which one?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone actually thought that was going to be good.
That was a gamble. That was a gamble.
Yeah.
We could save that for the next panel, though.
And the thing is, and that's why, we're talking Marvel in the DC panel because we're talking James Gunn, and that's the trick. I mean, just letting a movie be fun and especially with those properties, you have so much room because people aren't as invested. You know, that unfortunately that is kind of, and that's why I think that Warner Brothers gets in their way. They know that there's so many fans and they're worried about, you know, public thought. They're vested with a Batman. They're vested with a Superman. There's so many different generations of different fandom of the Christopher Reeve era. You know, when they did the Brandon Routh, what is it? The actor that did the Superman Returns, and they're like, we're just gonna do the Christopher Reeve again and make this like skip Superman. You know
what? We almost got Nicolas Cage.
Oh wow, yeah, but that wasn't spinning off of that was Tim Burton, so they weren't trying to go Christopher Reeve. We almost
got Nicolas Cage.
You're right, and that would have been.
I'm gonna tell you that script. A lot of it, Kevin Smith was working on that script from the 90s. A lot of it made in. Some aspects of it are in Man of Steel.
So you know what? You can't always be mad at them. We almost had Nicolas Cage.
Almost had Nicolas Cage as Superman. Even though we did get him in, what was it, Teen Titans Go?
Teen Titans
Go. He played Superman.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and Teen Titans Go to the movies, exactly. And he voiced Superman in there finally, so they gave that nod. But yeah, there is a universe where, and it's in the shared universe where Nicolas Cage is Superman. I like the trailer. I'm not a big fan of Robert Pattinson.
I'm just
as Batman.
It's not even that. It's just I'm worried.
It's DC. It's DC.
Listen,
that's gonna be a one shot for me, man. As long as it's its own thing, I think it'll be okay.
I'm gonna do personally. I was big. I was happy with Christian Bale. I was very excited for that casting. Yeah, personally, I ate crow with Ben Affleck. He was excellent. He was a decent Bruce Wayne. He's completely, since he became a director, has completely evolved and grown as an actor from Daredevil.
I am one of the ones that didn't want him. I'll be honest.
We got pictures of us in Vegas, not Vegas, in Orlando with what is it, Madame Tussauds?
Yes.
And they had a wax figure of Ben Affleck, and we were both pretending to like punch him in the face because we were so mad about that casting.
I was mad. Right.
See, in fairness, I'm personally, and actually my co-hosts do like it, I'm not a big Michael Keaton Batman fan.
I love it.
I think Michael Keaton's a great, incredible actor. And just like you said, Beetlejuice is incredible. And I felt that Tim Burton's like, I just want a really good actor for this role.
Those movies are still good.
Those movies are good.
The thing is, Michael Keaton physically does not at all exemplify Batman. He does not exemplify Bruce Wayne. I don't feel he just, and that was the first whack at it. And I like when the first whack at it is more accurate.
But then it got worse.
It did.
Okay, so that's our problem. So you had the thing that you didn't like, and then it got really bad. Really bad.
You know what? This is what's funny though. I don't know if anyone's seen the Val documentary, Val Kilmer. He has a documentary on Amazon Prime because unfortunately Val Kilmer, he came down with throat cancer. He survived and everything, but he doesn't have his voice the way he had it. So he did this whole autobiography. He always had a camera with him. So there's a lot of backstage footage of movies he was in. Obviously, that's why we're talking DC. We're talking about Batman. And there was a lot of insight. And he didn't, it was maybe like a 5-minute part of the documentary, that film. But it actually gives a lot of insight as to how things have changed overall from what the previous experience was doing a superhero film to it is now, as to how you're able to get a better quality of actor, and why good actors would quit those films right away or not be interested in them. And a big part of that is because thanks to special effects and much lighter weight and better costuming and makeup and stuff like that, it's not as much the nightmare it used to be for actors to get into these costumes and play these characters. Yeah. And because of that, you can understand why, and he said it in that documentary, we understood why Michael Keaton didn't want to come back for a third. He did not come back for a second. And then with George Clooney, the fourth one. And it's very complicated because they can't hear in the suit. They don't really feel like they're acting. So they write the lines around that. So they say like, this is very like, they're garbage scripts because it felt like being on a soap opera. I'm just coming out. Exactly. It's just see my face. I say 2 lines and we're done. And he goes, and I really wish I got a villain. And then they show it. like Jim Carrey in the Riddler costumes that he's in. He can be as, loud as you want, move around. He's got airflow. He can have fun with it. Who was it that played Two-Face in that one? Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones able to, to do his thing. Jack Nicholson as the Joker. So it's always like, it's better to be the villain. That's why you would get a lot of these good actors to play the villains, because they didn't have the difficulty of this horrible bad suit.
The villains work. It's a different.
But I'm feeling now, because coming back to your question about the Batman, I personally think I'm gonna love the story. I think it's the right kind of dark for Batman. Something we're getting different. I just Robert Pattinson supposedly is being a lot of problems for the studio. He's not staying in Batman shape for them in and out between filming, which keeps hurting the film and making them delay things. You have a lot of wonderful, different, unique casting in this film that's going to tell a different story when they're used to Batman. And it's like a year 2 Batman?
Yes, a year or two.
So it's it's a young Batman. And the thing is that Batman Begins, with Christian Bale. In fairness, it's like 10-year Batman.
So, you know
what I mean? He came back as Batman already fully trained.
Right.
All these great gadgets like that, an awesome Batmobile like that, a great costume like that. And it would be great. And we love the story. We love the backstory. But this one, we are going to get a grittier Batman that still has not the best equipment, not the best experience, not the best decision making. So, and then he's being thrown into.
And in hindsight, that sounds amazing.
It does.
That sounds great.
It does. And
now,
then
when
you
it work.
Exactly. I think
this one's gonna go more toward the detective side, so that's what I'm excited about.
So this feels more Batman Beyond than it does Batman.
Yeah, I can see that.
Batman Beyond, like Terry McGinnis.
Yeah, because
Terry McGinnis. Yeah,
it just feels like he's just brand new at this. It's that whole young Batman trying to figure it out.
But it's grittier. I mean, because Batman Beyond, like Terry McGinnis, it's a lot cleaner fun. I mean, it's more like Batman Beyond's more like a Spider-Man.
Well, that's because it's in the future.
Right.
Yeah,
because,
that's what I'm saying. He gets this great suit that has all these wonderful powers,
but then he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, but he can afford to be inexperienced because he has the suit to back him up. Where this is going to be a lot grittier in the sense that if
we think,
he's going to take a beating. And I one thing I like the scene where he says, number one. Well, I'll give credit in the trailers that we saw. He does something that not every other Batman does in every Batman movie when they say, "Who are you?" And what do they say in every Batman movie when a character says, "I'm Batman"?
Yeah.
And in this one, he goes, "I'm Vengeance." And then he beats the living tar out of that guy in front of that gang. And that reminds me of who's seen Ender's Game? Which is a great movie. And I just jumped straight to Ender's Game when he says, why did you keep hitting him? And he says, because that's for every other fight after. And that's exactly what I felt they wrote into that script. So I'm going deep into that, saying this, I think, is going to be a very good script because that's how they're writing it. They're writing Bruce Wayne that way. He didn't have to, he took that guy down in 3 shots. And yeah, maybe a lot of it is therapeutic of getting out the murder of his parents. But I think a lot of it is the strategic. This is a gang that knows who I am now, that's seen me, and is going to be looking for Batman. They need to be afraid of Batman now.
And going back to that, I don't want to see that death again. I don't want to see that again.
Yes, I think we've seen enough pearls fly.
I do not want to see
we
that.
We can have a 1-hour montage on this screen if we want it.
Honestly, I don't want to see a pearl
of pearls flying
in my life again.
On a lighter note, in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, that is one of the darkest jokes that is so funny.
That was kind of
ever. Have you seen Teen Titans Go to the Movies? Probably not your cup of tea to watch it anyways. But there's a whole thing where they...
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No,
you said
MSK,
it better. Go ahead.
You want to take it, God? God, Guy on Digital?
No, you go ahead, man.
They were going back in time, changing the origin stories of heroes, so they would be the only heroes left. And when they realize that doesn't work out, they have to go back and redo their origin stories. So there's literally a scene when they're walking, and they go, no, right this way. And they actually point them into the alley.
Oh my God.
And then you hear the 2 gunshots and they're like, and that's just wow, that's just
it was dark.
So dark.
That was dark.
And it's a kid's movie. It's Teen Titans Go to the movies, but it's not the Young Justice version of Teen Titans.
They literally put him back into the scene.
So that was the first time I was okay with it. And then Joker had to have it. With Joaquin Phoenix, it had to have it. They didn't have to show the pearls break and everything, but it had to have it because you had to see that's what they led to. This
connection.
This is a different.
It was a connection.
Yeah. This is a different Batman because he had a different, again, the multiverse, and that's what we're talking about. Crisis bringing over a multiverse of different Batman. This is now a Batman who's going to grow up hating a different class of people. It's not going to be specifically the criminal. It's going to be actually the mentally disturbed or the mental illness, because that's what led to his parents getting killed. And as well as his Thomas Wayne was a jerk. That Thomas Wayne was not the good philanthropist.
Yeah, he wasn't making the city great.
Yeah, he was a hardcore business on money. So then you go think like, what kind of Bruce Wayne would he have been if he was raised that way? Yeah. Maybe this is a godsend to get a Batman and get a better person. Maybe not. Yeah. Maybe this isn't the best Batman you would get. So it does kind of make you think like,
and you're rooting, you're rooting for the
almost for the Joker to
for Joker right to the end.
It's a disturbing concept.
You're rooting for him.
It's a very disturbing concept with that, and that's why I kind of felt they did need to show that, because they wanted to show like this led to this instead of the usual thing.
I just don't want to see that again.
But
it's so
cliche. It's so cliche.
You know what? Just show me all the scenes from every movie.
And you know what? Back to Marvel. What did they do with Peter Parker this time?
A different piece of jewelry, not pearls.
Right. The same. Yeah.
Else.
I'm sorry, MSK.
Like watch falls or something. I don't know.
Oh, watch falls. Instead of the pearls break, we see a watch hit the ground. His wallet.
Something else. His
wallet. Something with the pearls. But yeah,
they take his shoes. I don't know anything.
Back to the Marvel comparison. You like Tom Holland, Spider-Man. They went, you know what? We've seen enough Uncle Ben die. Everyone knows the story. We're just gonna kind of skip over that.
Again,
in fairness, they gave us Tony Stark. He was the Uncle Ben of this Spider-Man storyline.
Technically,
but overall, it's like, you know what? Every time we give you Peter,
getting a little intimidated out there right now.
That is an awesome Mandalorian suit out there.
Yeah.
I don't think she's part of the 501st.
That's very scary.
And the Stormtroopers are wrong. We got some great cosplays. And thank you for also coming to cosplay. You see who it is? You're staying for our next panel, right?
Yes, she is. That's what she said.
It was Agatha all
the whole time.
I can't believe that shot up on iTunes, that song. No kidding. Yes, that's crazy. It's like fans are crazy.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the Batman just to see what the story is going to be. I'm not a big Robert Pattinson fan in the sense of as Batman.
But you know what? He's grown on me.
He has Tenet.
If you guys have seen Tenet.
Any Tenet fans in the audience?
Yeah, he's a good actor.
He's grown on me.
Tenet?
He's past Twilight. He's actually done.
Yes. Oh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Man of Steel all day.
I don't know. In fairness, it's a. But I feel with him, it's a different movie you sign up for. You know, I think that, you know, because again, he did the Dark Knight series, he grounded it, and we appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. So you're a Michael Keaton Batman fan. Tim Burton, yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I liked it when it was out, you know, but then once I started having things to compare it to, I can't rewatch it.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to praise completely the Dark Knight series trilogy that we got, because there's problems with the movies, right? There's loopholes and things.
The third one because of Heath Ledger.
Yeah, there's loopholes and things, but it wasn't fun in the sense of, you know, the excitement of it's more gritty. It's gritty.
It's more of a movie, right? It's not.
Yeah, it's a movie. You're watching a movie. It's a straight movie about a guy who happens to be Batman.
Yeah,
right. It's what it is.
Yeah, it's not a superhero.
It's what it is. It's not a superhero.
It's not a super movie.
It's like the Godfather type. You know, cinematically. Yeah. Right? It's not just Iron Man or any of the Marvel movies.
And it's also there's also that overall, you know, like in Dark Knight, Joker, you know, the Joker at that time, you know, Heath Ledger, he represented a lot of like society things and stuff like that. And then they did the same thing in another way with class warfare and stuff like that in the Dark Knight Rises. So he was a little bit like George Romero, in the sense like when he did Walking Dead, he had a lot of ulterior storyline and deeper meaning that he was trying to tell in his story. Right. And that's kind of what you got in the Christopher Nolan Batman, that he's telling more of a story than just this superhero, an origin story, and you know, him just taking on this bad guy, and that's it. And in fairness, and it's what worked for that, and that's one thing he did, and that's my defense of Christopher Nolan, was the Heath Ledger Joker. Granted, it's not the Mark Hamill Joker that is the greatest Joker ever from Batman the Animated Series, which is disturbing but so fun at the same time.
Right.
He took away a lot of the fun because it was so disturbing, which they did take a whack at with the Killing Joke, that they actually brought in Mark Hamill to do that animated film. So we did get the dark, disturbing Joker with Mark Hamill. But with the animated series, there was a lot of fun, a lot of chapstick, a lot of, there wasn't really dire consequences for the things he did. You know what I mean? Like, he really wasn't killing people. He was putting laugh gas in them, and then Batman was able to cure them later. Obviously not so chapstick like what, Cesar Romero did in, the Adam West series. But with the Heath Ledger one, we got the first whack at a society Joker of like, wow, this is dark. This guy's disturbed. He's doing messed up stuff. He's killing people. He's hurting people. The stakes they're high with this, and he's not so fun. And it was that impressive acting, but it wasn't a fun Joker. And obviously Joaquin Phoenix is not at all that Joker, a fun Joker. And that one even goes deeper into...
That was great.
That's Eddie from Flynn's calling me from the arcade over in the corner. I don't know what's going on. Probably doing their Super Smash tournament. But yeah, so we were having that storyline with the Dark Knight, the series of Christopher Nolan, that we get that. So you would never had the Joaquin Phoenix Joker if we hadn't had the Heath Ledger Joker.
Right.
And then Suicide Squad, not the Suicide Squad, tried to be too fun.
I'm so confused. Which one are we talking about?
I'm going to talk about that Joker now for a second.
Okay.
The Leto Joker.
Oh, Leto.
The punk, the hip hop Joker,
He's
who then later became Daft.
Then he's a rocker.
Then he became Daft Punk. Slipknot Joker.
They wanted to do with that Joker.
Yeah. In fairness, I always defend Leto, that I think he's an actor that does the job they ask him to do. I don't think that was his creation of the Joker. That was Ayer's, version of the Joker, and he gave it to us. But I don't feel like, I think they were trying to do disturbing Joker but fun at the same time is what they were trying to do that Joker, and they cut out a lot of his scenes.
It's colorful.
Yeah, very colorful. And so they we didn't get those scenes. So I understand, and it all depends on what kind of superhero fan you are. And sometimes, like, when it's the properties, and that's where like the Suicide Squad works so well. And then like things that are right off, like completely off, like Doom Patrol. If we catch Doom Patrol right off the cuff, because when it's a franchise, or like we were talking about earlier, Guardians of the Galaxy, the other James Gunn version, which we'll get into in the Marvel panel. When it's a franchise you're not so connected to, then you don't know what to expect. You don't have expectations for it. Then no matter what it is, whether it's a fun style movie, you still have fun because you didn't have your own preset thoughts of what it should be. And I feel that that's kind of what we're getting a lot now with the DC films, that there's so many of them now of the same characters. Everyone goes into every film with some type of preset. I want it to be this way or that way.
It'd be nice if they could kind of expand, because Marvel is taking obscure characters and actually doing stuff like DC has the same characters they constantly making.
And that's where you'll see, for those who haven't seen the Suicide Squad yet, but those who have, that is a difference. They let James Gunn let me start going through the books. I'm going to bring out some crazy characters. Yeah. Now, King Shark has gotten some has been getting some pop lately because they started to start using him in the Harley Quinn series, in the Arrowverse. And why? Because they're starting to scrap through the bottom and go, hey, we keep using the same people over again. We need something new. Like, oh, we'll use this one. And then you kind of see it get used over and over again and all the same. So King Shark's kind of already been used a lot lately. But I prefer this rendition of it much better personally. But Polka Dot Man, Weasel, this is all stuff that we didn't see coming. Excellent. And someone who joined us a little late, we had to say, actually, and we'll go through that. We did it on our Instagram yesterday, but now we'll make it part of the podcast. We all had different favorites. Well, not different, actually, but our favorites from the Suicide Squad. Yeah, my personal was Polka Dot Man.
Yep.
Yeah,
which was also MSK's. All of them. Everything. He's in everything.
He's in
Two-Face. Two-Face was interrogating him. And that's one of the reasons for my personal reason for liking so much Polka Dot Man is seeing that actor get so much extra pop finally in one of these superhero films. Because he's in so many superhero films, especially DC. He's in their shows.
He's going to be in Dune.
He's what?
He's going to be in the movie Dune coming up.
Oh, he's also in Dune.
He's in Dune.
Man, everyone's in Dune.
Does he have his own poster with his own face and name?
Yes, the
I
Ant-Man
don't know. I haven't
films.
seen that yet.
No, okay.
He did Calendar Man in the animated series. Yeah, well, not in the animated film. Sorry, he played Calendar Man. But he's in a lot of stuff. But
Long
then,
Halloween.
yeah, I love Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, Halloween.
His to my left to be, what was your favorite again?
Weasel.
Weasel. That's right. Weasel had to be Weasel.
100% Weasel.
Weasel's fantastic. And Shark, King Shark was excellent. And I mean, just so many things that they did with that. And like you said, bringing in new characters. And so, I mean, I want to end on a good note on our DC panels. We're ending it now. And
Switching over?
Yeah, the Suicide Squad. I hope if they're going to do more DC movies and stuff, they should do this and do it with James Gunn. Is this my final take on this? Yeah. Yeah, but I think right now there's going to be a bit of a leeway and a pass on a lot of films for that reason, with considering what box office.
I mean, Black Widow is suing.
Yep. I mean, he can always sue. James Gunn could sue, but I don't think
he can always sue and get nothing because, yeah.
So, any nerdcessity to wrap it up? Either of my
GOD?
fellows?
Guy on digital?
GOD?
For DC, I would. Yeah, no, I don't have any. I mean, I would recommend watching the animated movie Hush, and also reading the comic book, because the comic book is very good.
Yes.
Of Hush.
Yes,
So,
and I would actually to follow up his recommendation, I would watch Hush and then read Hush, because I feel it's one of those that the comic book version is better.
the comic book version is better.
Yeah, and so if you see it first, you won't be disappointed at all, and just enjoy it, and really enjoy that animated film, and then read the comic book to see like, oh wow, that would have been interesting. That's also a good way to wrap that up. So thank you for those who joined us just for DC.
Yep.
For joining the Fanatically Correct podcast for our DC panel.
All right, guys, that's it. That was the flashback episode. Again, flashback episode. No Flash movie. DCEU, whatever. Discovery just bought them out. Let's see what happens. Probably nothing. We'll get Shark Week, most likely on HBO Max. But that's about it. I'm not editing ums out. I'm just gonna leave them there. All right, so you get your tickets at sunrisefl.gov/Comic-Con. Again, Fancor is gonna be there. A whole bunch of other stuff's gonna be there. Hope everyone makes it. We certainly will. And yeah, that's it, guys. If anything, hope you enjoyed the episode. But yeah, The Flash. Screw you, Ezra Miller. All right, this is MSK. Peace out.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Fanatically Correct. Until next time, you crazy kids. Signing off.